this video, I'll provide you with 20 highly useful tricks that will instantly enhance your zero build skills. I'm willing to bet that at least 5 of these pointers are ones you didn't know yet. We'll cover tips from the most obvious to the least apparent. Let's get started. Turn on visual audio setting. If you haven't enabled the visual audio setting, you are placing yourself at a significant disadvantage compared to the other players in the lobby. While it may have been an obvious choice for some, newer players who might feel overwhelmed by the multitude of settings in Fortnite might overlook it. Frankly, this setting is quite overpowered. It allows you to visually discern the direction of nearby enemies' footsteps on the screen. Furthermore, it indicates the location of someone using a zipline, swimming, or driving a car with on-screen logos. In my opinion, this setting shouldn't even exist because it provides too much of an advantage. Please do me a favor and ensure that you activated it. Moving from cover to cover. This tip may be one you haven't come across before. Practice moving from cover to cover. It's a straightforward concept that holds true in Zero Build. Unlike traditional building mechanics in Battle Royale games, Zero Build doesn't afford you the luxury of creating cover at will. Therefore, you must intentionally seek out protection every time you transition from point A to point B. Neglecting this practice leaves you vulnerable to unexpected shots. And if you're caught without nearby cover, the likelihood of elimination increases significantly. Be the predator, not the prey. In Zero Build, you always want to be the first one to shoot. The reason is simple. When you reduce your enemy's HP and shields, you instantly gain the edge in the fight. Subsequently, your strategic move will likely involve pushing. And even if your opponent manages to retaliate, remember that you initiated the encounter with a full overshield and HP, which is a significant advantage. Would you prefer starting a fight with half as much health as your opponent? I bet not. Avoid 50-50s. In Zero Build, a 50-50 situation occurs when you engage in a fight with someone and neither of you has any type of cover. This implies that the confrontation is fair and your chances of winning depend solely on your gun skills. While it's sometimes challenging to avoid 50-50 situations, they are often a common reason why players end up back in the lobby. Engaging in battles while utilizing cover and avoiding prolonged exposure of your body provides a significant advantage. In simple terms, excessive involvement in 50-50s can result in considerable damage to your shields and HP. It's okay to camp to assess what's going on around you. This holds particularly true when you find yourself being chased by an opponent. It's a strategic move to halt your movement at certain intervals, directing your attention towards the visual effects logo's orientation while listening to your enemy's footsteps. This tactic aids in pinpointing your enemy's location more effectively. Additionally, by remaining stationary, you suppress the sound of your own footsteps and minimize the visual audio cues displayed on your opponent's screen, granting you a substantial advantage in the engagement. Doing this for a few seconds at a time is in your best interest. Third party is not cringe, it's part of the game. Yes, you heard correctly, third partying is not cringe and you are allowed to do it. In fact, it's in your best interest to do it. But why? Imagine you had the chance to enter fights with twice the HP and shields of your opponent. Would you take it? I'm confident that you would say yes. And this is precisely the significant advantage you gain when you third party. Remember, this game is a battle royale and your goal is to be the last one standing. So of course, it's a necessity to employ this strategy if you want to survive for longer. Always hide or take cover after a kill. You might not have considered this, but as soon as you eliminate someone, remember that the commotion you just created could attract nearby enemies, especially in competitive lobbies. Therefore, after securing a kill, it's a wise move to seek cover, allowing you the opportunity to restore your health and shields. In the event of a pursuit, having some protection increases your chances of surviving an unexpected follow-up engagement. Jump, slide, jump, slide. If there's one thing that depletes rapidly after sprinting, it's your stamina. Nevertheless, there's a technique that can help you conserve stamina, prolong the time it takes to deplete, and simultaneously increase the distance you cover. You should experiment with the jump, slide technique. This not only helps in stamina conservation, but also makes you a more challenging target, as hitting a moving target is a demanding task for opponents. Use the jump shot technique. What provides me with the advantage in the majority of my close range gunfights is the jump shot technique. To execute it, you simply shoot with your shotgun or SMG while jumping. By maintaining constant movement, you become a significantly harder target to hit. While it may not be super easy to master, practicing the skill of moving your cursor downward as you jump is crucial to staying on target with your enemy. Give it a try and you'll find that it can be truly game-changing. Play gun game maps for practice. The absolute best way to quickly enhance your overall zero build skills is to play gun game creative maps. These fast-paced maps immerse you in intense gunfights that simulate 1v1 scenarios, helping you practice how to engage, disengage, and third-party others. They are perfect for owning the jump shot technique mentioned earlier, particularly in close-quarter 50-50 shotgun battles. Moreover, these maps provide an excellent opportunity to test a variety of weapons, allowing you to get a feel for how each reacts in the heat of action. As a bonus, playing these maps can also earn you a significant amount of XP. So, what are you waiting for? If you found these tips valuable so far, be sure to click on the like button. Thank you. Know the strengths and weaknesses of each weapon. As of right now, if you don't know that the Frenzy Auto Shotgun shoots faster but does less damage compared to the Hammer Pump, I mean, what are you doing? You can't just carry a weapon without knowing how to properly use it. You also need to know if the weapon can be used on its own or if you'll have to make a combo with it. For instance, given the slowness of the Hammer Pump, it's definitely better to make a combo with an SMG. On the other hand, you can rely on the Frenzy Auto Shotgun alone, but you'll want to be as close as possible to your enemies when fighting. Know the current meta. In a manner similar to the previous tip, it's crucial to be aware of the current meta of the game. For instance, at the time of recording this, the prevailing strategy in Zero Build revolves around having a sniper, an AR, and a shotgun as your three main weapons. However, metas are constantly evolving, and after an update or at the start of a new season, they undergo changes necessitating adaptation. While it's tempting to stick with the weapons you're most comfortable with, there are times when it's necessary to use those currently deemed more effective, even if they are not your personal favorites. Do not carry more than 3 weapons. Believe it or not, there's no necessity to carry a sniper, an AR, a shotgun, and an SMG all at once. Ditch the habit of using 4 weapons. Consider this: how frequently do you find yourself needing to use all 4 or even all 3 in a single battle? It's likely a rare occurrence. Typically, fights only require the use of 2 weapons, and in some exceptional cases, 3. This implies that there's no need to carry more than 3 weapons, making it wiser to leave the other 2 inventory slots for heals, mobility items, and utility items. Reserve 1 slot for mobility or protection. Since we just discussed the idea of limiting yourself to no more than 3 weapons, that leaves 2 available slots. The question then arises, what should you add in these slots? Naturally, it's almost obligatory to carry at least 1 healing item. While there may be instances where carrying 2 heals provides beneficial, it's not a necessity in the current Chapter 5 Season 1 meta, though it might become more relevant in the future. I suggest reserving only 1 slot for a mobility item or protection. By mobility, I mean items such as the grapple blade or shockwave grenades, while protection items include bush bombs or porta bunkers. During endgame scenarios, these items become crucial and can easily determine whether you win or lose the final fight if you choose not to carry them. If your opponent is fleeing, it's time to push. If you get shot and lose a significant amount of shields, the decision to either stay in the same spot or attempt an escape is crucial. I'm confident you would opt to get away most of the time. Similarly, when you successfully land shots on an opponent and they start to retreat, it's the perfect opportunity to be aggressive and push them. However, exercise caution as you are now the pursuer. Any skilled opponent might strategically wait for you with a right side peek. Keep in mind that the faster you initiate the push, the higher the chances of eliminating your opponent, as their overshield takes time to recharge. Consistently adopting this approach will likely lead to coming out on top in the majority of these intense scenarios. Push your opponent when you did more than 150 damage. As a good rule of thumb, if you notice the damage indicator reaching or exceeding 150, it's imperative to push right away, especially when you are at full shields, HP, and overshield. However, be careful if you are not at full health. The strategy works with the assumption that you have full shields, HP, and overshield. Consider this: if you've dealt more than 150 damage, it automatically implies that your opponent's shield and overshield are depleted, leaving only their HP. Entering a fight with more than twice the amount of energy makes you the favorite every single time. So it's wise to adopt this approach and observe the positive results. While escaping, take cover and use right side peek. Now, if you are on the receiving end and you find yourself needing to escape a fight, there's a simple strategy that could give you the edge. Upon leaving, most players will likely push you. If you position yourself behind a wall while standing, keep in mind that you're not revealing your position as your footsteps are concealed. Also, you now have the advantage to peek and preview where your enemy is coming from without exposing your body at all. This technique is known as the right side peek, commonly used to be the first to shoot back at your target. In such cases, you have more than a decent chance to survive the fight and continue playing. Don't underestimate your landing. I often observe many players either landing late or not prioritizing being the first to land and grab loot. But this is a massive mistake, as landing as fast as possible is one of the most crucial moments in the game. The reason is simple: when you land first, you have the advantage of grabbing a weapon and shields before your enemies, who are still gliding with nothing in their inventory. If you're aware of these late droppers, you can secure some very easy kills. It's in your best interest to always push them quickly, denying them the chance to defend themselves properly. Furthermore, if you've only picked up one weapon that you're comfortable with, I suggest adopting an aggressive approach, as your enemies might have nothing in their hands. Plan your rotations ahead. This tip is particularly valuable for the latter circles in the game, but it's also wise to plan your rotations as soon as you see the second zone approaching. The flow of games in Chapter 5 follows a script. The second circles introduce radio towers, the third circles unveil your weapon cache, the fourth zone brings Loot Island, and so on. I would suggest looting your initial area and, upon completion, always take a car to reach your next spot as quickly as possible. While I used to avoid cars in the past, now they offer more protection than ever. In previous seasons, it was relatively easy to eliminate an enemy driving a car, but that's not necessarily the case in Chapter 5. If you find yourself roaming without a clear goal or destination, you're potentially wasting time and missing opportunities to strengthen your position and load out as the match progresses. Avoid the middle, especially in the endgame. A common mistake I often observe is players rotating towards the center of the next zone. When choosing your position inside, this approach leaves you vulnerable to a 360-degree field of view. It becomes nearly impossible to cover all angles when positioned at the center, except if you manage to find a building for cover. The optimal strategy is to rotate along the edges, allowing you to avoid the need to constantly watch your back and enabling you to concentrate solely on what lies ahead. Were there any tips that you never heard about? How about ones that you already knew? Let me know in the comment section. I suggest watching the next video you see on screen right now, as it's another tips and tricks type of video. See ya!